Happy week 183. Now, let me ask you this. Do we really need an economist to tell us that even in the worst of all recessions, Toronto will still remain unaffordable? I mean, I'm tired of this affordability discussion revolving around people buying, where, oh, Toronto is unaffordable. I can only afford to buy a condo or a townhouse. I really want that house, but it's unaffordable. I can only really buy this. If you're in a position to buy anything here in Toronto, count your lucky stars. That's a blessing. Get started somewhere on the ladder and move on from there. Affordability, and every conversation around affordability should be around making sure that people who do not have a roof over their heads are covered, and making sure that those who do not have access to a safe residence for their family have that subsidy to allow them access to this thing. So let's just stop talking about making things affordable. No matter how much of the Greenbelt gets destroyed by Doug Ford and his idiotic crew, not a single one of those homes will be affordable unless they are massively subsidized by all levels of government and provided to people that actually need a home, versus helping people level up the type of home they can already afford to buy. All this Greenbelt discussion by the crook Doug Ford and all of his cronies, they're criminals, and they're doing this for financial gain. None of this is for affordability. None of the homes that are built there will put a dent in any sort of affordability for anyone. So let's just put that out there. And if you think otherwise, I'd love to have a discussion with you about this to understand where you're actually coming from. Anyway, this is week 183. My name is Ara Memorian. I'm the founder of the Spring Team, and I've been doing this market report for 183 weeks in a row, and it will continue. Now, let's talk about what happened last week. Probably one of the quietest weeks of the entire year, as it happens every single year. But it is the end of the month, and what happens at the end of the month? We get our months of inventory statistics, and we don't just get them, I create them. Remember, if you are watching a market report and some agent's like, well, the July numbers are in, stop listening right away. They make no sense. It will not be relevant to you. Oh, looks like we're seeing a slowdown now. Well, no, if you had been monitoring the market weekly, you would have seen that slowdown already kind of happening in real time. So do not track the market monthly. Do not listen to anybody who is tracking the market monthly and reporting those numbers a week after the month is already done. You've missed out on 4.5, 5 weeks of data already. That's why this blog is the best. That's why this market report is the best at keeping your finger on the pulse. And you can read it always at thespringteam.ca/blog. It's always going to be there. Anyway, so let's get into week 183. Not going to be a long video anyway, but week 183, it's the end of the summer. Like, what's really going on at the end of the summer? Sales are down across the board. But like I was saying, months of inventory statistics, I was able to finally run because we had the complete month of August data to do that with. Now, what's really interesting to see is this has been a trend, by the way. Despite all of the negative news out there, what's really always important to keep your eye on the prize. And what is the prize? The prize is supply. That's what you have to keep your eye on. And even months of inventory figures are trending downward for the majority of communities in Toronto, with the exception of a couple, which you can read in the blog. I may or may not fully put it in the YouTube video the description. You're gonna have to go to the springteam.ca /blog to read this and all of the data. Like, I've got 183 weeks like marked on a graph of where, the numbers have been pinging for that entire time. So it really gives you a good window into how our markets performed during probably some of the most volatile economic conditions. So very interesting stuff there. But months of inventory is down. So that means that people are not yet panicking and flooding the market with their properties because of the rates or whatever. However, like I have said before, just now are we getting to the point where people are really starting to feel it in their pocketbook. Just now. So all the people that just bought, they engaged new mortgages. These people knew what they were getting into. They were approved based on those massive payments. They're good. Let's put them aside for a second. Right now, people like me who have, who engaged mortgages in 2020, 2021, and 2022, we're the ones that are just now starting to feel the pain in our pocketbook with our mortgage payments going up from as little as 30% to as much as 70%, which was the case for me, which I've talked about many, many times. For us, we were going to sell our house. We decided not to after the market wasn't really cooperating with our price expectations. And, as a seller, you got to have some price expectations. Like, this is Toronto. You got to hang on to this property. And if you get that right number, then you move on from it. But for us, we didn't get that right number. And then, we were away for a bunch of the summer, and we came back and we were going to put our property on the market again. But then I had an amazing conversation with my cousin, who is a phenomenally successful real estate broker, a couple of weeks ago. And, it's funny, when you're in the weeds, it's really hard for you to think clearly. Like, I would advise my clients to what? Hold. I would say hold, do whatever you can to hold. So that's what we're doing. We're going to hold. Maybe we'll put in a basement apartment to help manage this massive mortgage payment that we have now. I mean, it was massive before, but now it's gargantuan. So maybe put in a I could put in a basement apartment in my house for $10,000. That would bring in about $2,400-$2,500 a month. That would put a nice dent into my mortgage payment, and recover the cost that it takes to create this legal basement apartment within 4 months. And that is a pretty good return when you're looking at ROI in that scenario. So anyway, a lot of people seem to be figuring it out right now and not flooding the market. This week will be a very important week. What's tomorrow? September the 6th, we've got the mortgage rate announcement happening, the Bank of Canada monetary policy, all that good stuff coming out tomorrow. Usually they announce at 10 a.m., so we'll put out a video about that tomorrow as well. Now, there is a lot of pressure to not have an increase tomorrow, a lot of pressure from the, some sort of, I can't remember who it was from British Columbia, whether it was a mayor or a provincial leader or whoever it was, begging the Bank of Canada to not do an increase. And of course, Doug Ford, being the pathetic follower that he is, did the exact same thing. Oh, please don't do this, whatever. They have no influence over what's going to happen. The Bank of Canada has a mind of its own, and they're not going to take into consideration what some provincial leaders say. In this scenario, they've already made up their mind. They know what they're going to do. We don't know what they're going to do, but we'll see. If there's an increase, absolutely will kill the market. And by kill the market, I mean nobody's going to buy, and there are going to be a lot of people that are put into a selling position. So there will be a window of opportunity for some buyers to take advantage of that scenario. Will it last long? Who knows? Will prices drop a tremendous amount? Depends on the number of listings that hit the market. So all of these things are unknowns. The only thing you need to be ready for, if you have cash, are opportunities to take advantage of. Or if you are a homeowner who is worried about what might happen to your payment if there is another increase, call your bank right now and find out. That way you know. That way it's not a surprise. Simple as that. And then after that, find a way to hang on. And a lot of people are going to do just that. They're going to hang on. Like, I get it. A lot of people can't afford all of a sudden a massive jump in their mortgage payment, but there are ways to hang on. So let's talk about that. So that's what's going to happen this week. This week is going to define what will happen for the rest of the fall market. If there is no increase, that should instill some comfort in a lot of buyers, just like it did back in January, where it stopped increasing for the first time. What happened then? When the rates stopped going up, there was finally certainty in the air, certainty that there was going to be a period of time where you knew that there weren't going to be any increases. During that time, buyers bought, and they bought quite aggressively, which caused a massive spike in prices from January to March. We basically gave back all those gains from April, May, June, July, August, slowly ticked back and withdrew a lot of those deposits that were made, so to speak. So now we're kind of back in the position we were at the end of last year, at the end of 2022, which was essentially the bottom of the market. In some cases, we're still not at that point. We're still ahead of that, depending on the neighborhood, depending on the street. So there's really not as much drama out there. There's just a lot less sales activity. And the people that are in the market are a lot more cautious, which is kind of normal. Like this, remember, it's not normal to have a place sell with 30 offers in 2 days. That's not normal. So the minute we veer off of that, all of a sudden it's down market, it's crazy, it's this, it's that. Well, people aren't moving and buying and selling because it's fun. They're doing it because they need a lifestyle upgrade. They need more space. They need to be closer to X, to Y, to Z, whatever it is. They're making decisions because they usually have to. Now, a lot of people were making decisions because they just want to and they could, and money was basically free. So we're not going to be able to compare what's happening now and going forward to like the markets of the end of 2020, 2021, and the beginning of 2022. Those were unusually hectic years in real estate where people were just buying and selling stuff after 12 months of just having it, and you could make money after just a couple of months. That's not going to happen. It's going to happen again at some point in the future, but it's not going to happen anytime soon again. So, we have, when we remove that data and we compare what's happening now to a normal year prior to all that stuff, like none of this is really crazy. And we all know that there is an end to this. We know that there's an end to the hikes. We were hoping it would have been by now, but no, it's going to happen hopefully tomorrow. If it doesn't happen tomorrow, it's going to happen at the next one. And then as we actually head into a recession, which we might already be in right now, then there's downward pressure on rates, so rates will come down again, which will stimulate buying activity, which will result in a similar kind of scenario. But all of this depends on how many people flood the market with properties they absolutely need to sell. How many banks take ownership of property? Well, they don't really take ownership. They sell it along with the seller, and then the money is divided, etc. So fun fact about power of sale properties actually is that when the bank, so to speak, takes your property, they don't really take it. They force you to sell it. And it's not like they keep all the money. If there's money left after their debts are paid, that goes to the seller. People don't just give that up. You know what I mean? And if you are somebody who buys one of these power of sale properties, the very second, at the 11th hour, that seller can come in and make their, clear their debts and take the property back. So if you plan on buying a power of sale property and moving into it, you better have some alternative plans just in case that seller is able to dig themselves out of whatever trouble they're in and take their house back. This could happen like a second before closing, okay? So anyway, that's besides the point. So far, during this entire time, right now is the most crucial because things are most expensive, things are most painful, and things are extremely uncertain. After tomorrow, there will be more certainty one way or the other. So let's wait until then to see what's going to happen with the market. So I'm going to leave it there. thespringteam.ca/blog. Find me on Instagram, RMMO. I love to have these conversations everywhere. Let's try and keep it respectful. And I'll see you in week 184 next week. Have a good one.